So we are going to talk about an economy in transition. As we face the growth challenges of climate change, and we all understand that that has the potential to introduce changes in the economic structures, financial institutions have already made some volunteering commitments around net zero strategies, setting up their transition plans, thinking about how do we ensure, right, that we have effective and credible transitional plans, and how do we support our clients in a time of transitions. This panel couldn't be more timely, and I'm very happy to have here these esteemed speakers with me. So maybe we start with Kim, who's sitting on the other side. Kim, I would like you to introduce yourself and your role at Scotiabank, and also help us to understand what are some of the challenges that you face as you integrate your transition plans within your overall strategy, and how can these plans, shape your long-term sustainability objectives?
Great. Well, thank you very much, Katerina, and I'm really looking forward to this panel. My name's Kim Brand. I head up the sustainability team at Scotiabank, and we do a variety of different things for the bank. We help shape the climate strategy, we do the climate reporting, we support learning goals, and so on. The question is really timely for us because we're sort of at the tail end of creating our climate transition plan for the bank. And I thought I'd share something about the process and something about, maybe we'll end with challenges, but we'll start with maybe some tips that I've learned along the way that might be helpful as you go through, or perhaps you've already been through this. So as it turns out, the timing was quite great because about a year ago we came out with our corporate strategy more generally. And as an aside, it came out in Investor Day in December last year, and it was called The New Way Forward. I don't know if that rings a bell, but that's the new Democratic tagline for Kamala Harris. So I don't think we're going to be using it anymore. But I think that the key point there is it was really exciting, and I think it shows sort of the maturity scale moving along it in terms of embedding these issues in the overall corporate strategy rather than it sitting separately in a sustainability group. So that's been sort of the number one really helpful point. The second point is we have recently moved to the strategy office, which is a new office at Scotiabank. And being part of those crucial conversations through the strategy process with the executive and the board has also been really helpful in moving this along. From a tactical perspective, some of the ways we went about this are we took our existing climate commitments and goals. So a couple of examples of those are our $350 billion climate-related finance target, which is very similar to other banks and organizations' sustainable finance targets, but we're focusing on climate. We took our 2030 interim targets for net zero, and we looked at the regulatory requirements from OSFI B15. And we tried to mold those together into a conversation throughout the organization. And we kind of had two ways to do that. One was we did a bit of a roadshow across many areas of the bank. We had dozens of conversations, for example, with HR, with risk, with operations, data and analytics. And we went through, what are we doing now? What is the regulatory expectation? What are some of the great examples that our peers are doing, and where do we want to be on this 5 years from now? And then alongside that, we had specific work streams. For example, we have one on how to embed climate metrics into the deal review process for credit risk. And we have one on the 350 again. And we looked more closely at what are the priority objectives, what are the barriers and enablers, and what are the KPIs that can help us over time get there. So through all that, I think we're going to come to a place quite soon where we'll be delivering this as a transition plan to the board and to the executive. And I think one of the, Michael used the term climate literacy, and I think all of these meetings, discussions, and profile that the CTP brings to the organization really increases climate literacy. And, pushes it to the top of the agenda. And that's, I think I'll move now to challenges. I think there's a few challenges. One is, I think many of the people in the room work at very large, complex organizations where there's so many different issues that have a priority and that are really important. And climate is one of them, so you have to find a way to get it to the top of the agenda.
economy, which is, very much resource-based, right? Oil and gas, agriculture, some high-emitting sectors. And as we're setting up this carbonization strategy, then is keep coming into conversation the risk of greenwashing, right? Now I want to ask, our panelists here for their final thoughts, in terms of, what we should expect going forward, as well as how someone, can mitigate greenwashing, right? And what are some of the initiatives, that can be in place just to make sure that going forward, we have both, integrity and credibility when it comes to the information that we release in the market. Ed, maybe I'll start with you, with your final thoughts, and then, raising your perspective when it comes to greenwashing.
What's unique is that we're here to talk about, and let's be clear, securing capital and securing the Canadian economy, okay? Those are two preeminent points, and it's not about politics, because I don't know how many times I've heard, new government 2025, this all goes away. No. Capital, as an exporting economy, we need to deploy where we will continue to generate value for the Canadian economy. Those are 2 points that are critical. The next is governance that we were talking about. Oversight. Well, oversight means you're overseeing something. Get clear on the something. Too many times the something has been everything. That does not work. Being clear as to the something and how we're going to do it, how that risk generates opportunity, that too many times is missed. And the next step is the action point, and I love what you both have been saying as well. You got to meet your customer where they're at, our clients where they're at, because this isn't about, guess what, I'm turning off the tap. We're talking transition. We're talking everybody's trying to move forward right now. How do we move forward? Let's deploy on the moving forward. Let's deploy capital to move it forward. And I think we're going to have a lot better success in Canada than the whole approach of turning off the tap. Now, that may be controversial to some. I will be here all day. Please find me. Don't throw anything at me. And then the last point around greenwashing. You have to back up what you say. If you can't back it up, don't say it. That's, in essence, the entirety of greenwashing. And too many times it's the, I'm great, I do. Do you? Show me. You can't. Well, we have a problem. So back up what you say.
Thank you very much, which of course it can be complex in these areas, because back to Sarah's point, how do we help our clients, we meet our commitments when we know that there is so much uncertainty even in the scenarios that we're using, so that we have like a good estimation what is going to happen in the future, how much technology is going to help with the transition and all of that. But Sarah, what are your thoughts?
Sure. I have some perspectives. I think one, probably we're seeing a pendulum swing, and hopefully we swing back to the middle in the near future. I think we were, at one end of the spectrum where there was a bit of an ESG frenzy or craze, and everybody wanted to demonstrate how they were committed, what they were doing. It became, a term that meant everything to everyone, and thus lost all meaning in the process. And I think it has probably outlived its usefulness at this point, and we have to go a layer deeper and get more specific and be really precise with the language that we're using, the intent that we start out with, and the impact that we hope to achieve. I think it's this conflation between sort of the integration of ESG factors and impact or outcomes, and it's not necessarily one and the same. So that's one thing. Now I feel like, at least in the Canadian context, but certainly in other jurisdictions too, because this trend of increasing regulatory scrutiny is certainly global. But we've kind of swung the other way, I think, and on the back of the introduction of Bill C-59 and some of the uncertainty that has created, I think we're seeing now, certainly in the energy sector, for example, clients pulling disclosure for fear of litigation and so on. It might also have a bit of a political flavor to it, but nonetheless, this is very problematic. I think it's problematic for investors, it's problematic for lenders like us. I talked about our client engagement approach on climate. It relies on disclosure from our clients. So we cannot then make informed decisions if we don't have this information from clients. So we do need clarity. I think the remarks from Michael on the ISSB and the work of the IFRS, the standards, the adoption hopefully in Canada, voluntary or mandatory, will really help provide some clarity there, but I'm not sure we'll get back to a place where we have all of the information that once existed in the public domain. I suspect that to some extent some issuers will still be very careful with what they're disclosing.
Which makes that client engagement strategy even more important, so that fear is eliminated, and that education around, we are here to educate and help you transition with us, right? But it's a journey that we have to go together, right? Otherwise, then we might not achieve our overall objectives, right? And the country's objectives to decarbonize.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Sarah. Kim, final thoughts, and also, your perspective on how to mitigate greenwashing.
Well, I think I'll end it on the note of two things that I think have been really helpful in our organization. Oh, thank you. Two helpful things in our organization that I think help mitigate against greenwashing and also shape the way forward on climate, and those are collaboration and trust. And I feel that there's certain areas of the bank, whether it be sustainable finance, ESG risk, the business lines themselves, you need to collaborate to come up with the right mix of expertise and direction forward. And cross-pollinating those expertise has been, I think, something that we're not finished. It will go on, but is, I think, a building block for where we need to get to in terms of transparency and meeting regulatory requirements as well.
Great. Thank you very much. At this point, I would like to say a big thank you to Kim, Ed, and Sarah for taking the time to join us today, for sharing your insights, and the progress that you're making within your organization and the way that you're advising your clients. As I'd mentioned already, we'll all be here, so more than happy to connect with all of you. And Gary,
thank you so much.
To the
That's
next
great.
panel.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thanks.